Okay, this is the 5th time I've recorded this video, so we're going to get through this really quick, and I've gotten really good at speaking. So, I've been asked to make an update, or if the course is still working in 2021, or through 2020 through 2021. And I'm going to start off first with saying that the course has been updated multiple times in different sections, and a whole new section has been added, along with a bunch of free perks that are hidden in the course that you kind of have to go dig around for in the Facebook group, along with other things in the course which I'll get to momentarily. But first I want to start off with what's been added to the course. There's been a couple of different, there's a Facebook module in the Shopify Freedom course. There's been a couple of videos added to that specifically, and along with an entirely new section. This is called like a mini MBA. It's essentially what it is it's a basic accounting, basic type of a business section, where to start your LLC if you're in the US, Canada, UK, taxes and things like that, how to, do that, get that set up if you wanted to sell in those regions. That's a pretty substantial chunk of it. It's like 20 videos or so, or maybe 15 to 20. One thing I did want to talk about was the hidden perks that you kind of have to go and dig for. These are in the Facebook group, and you have to really go scroll through the announcements in the different unit sections they're mentioned there, but not really elsewhere. So if you didn't know that they existed, you probably wouldn't know that they, existed, funny enough. The number one thing that was added was a free software called Ecom Radar. This is essentially what the old Turbo Ad Finder was, except that this actually works and works consistently. So I'm happy to report that. Basically what it does is, if you don't know what Turbo Ad Finder is you would go to Facebook, and then you would turn on Turbo Ad Finder, and it would remove all the posts that were not ads. And so all you would see on Facebook as you scrolled were ads for products to assist you in finding them faster. The second thing that was added, that's added in as part of under the free section that is not really mentioned, is there is a store review. So what this is Dana's went in. The mentorship has kind of changed a little bit from how it was originally structured from my original review, and I'll get into that in a little bit. But essentially, what you can do is, once your Shopify store is about ready to go live, what you can do is you can go submit your store for review for one of the coaches, whether that be Dan or Josh. And they'll get back with you within a few business days to kind of throw some pointers. You should change this funnel's weak, the sales button shouldn't be here, etc., etc. Those pictures aren't as good. So that's incredibly helpful. That was not there when I started the course, and I really wished that would have been there. So that's a positive. The third thing that's kind of been added is also there's a free copywriter. And so a copywriter is someone who essentially writes words that convince people to buy something. So when your website is about ready to go, everything's built out, you have the product and all that, and all you need left is your sales page. You can email this copywriter, and what he will do is he'll provide you copy for a sales copy, you describe your product and whatnot, for your product page or your store page for that product. Like, say you're selling shoes, for instance, and you just don't know how to sell shoes, like, oh man, the vest or rubber, you can, etc. It's not really convincing. He'll write something much better for you. This is a free service, but your store must be, kind of up and ready to go. So other things that were added to the course is kind of like additional opt-ins to purchase if you want. These are just there. You're not required to purchase these at all. They're just nice benefits. But they have their own internal photographer for taking product photos professionally that the group uses. This was literally added a week ago as of this recording, which was on December 20th. It's kind of expensive depending on what it is, and I haven't fully looked at the details. Probably will pause this in post and go and fix that. The second thing that was added was a video photographer that you send your product to, that can film professional ads, 3 sets of ads for Facebook and Instagram or YouTube advertising or whatever that you want to use those for. This is like $500, and that may seem like a lot, but if you want it done professionally and edited and done within a reasonable time frame, it's not really that much actually. I mean, you could try to do it yourself, but good luck with that. It was hard enough setting this up and getting this to run. Another thing that was also added was there's a custom programmer that the group can use. This is someone who can take your to be able to customize your theme so it doesn't look like a generic Shopify template. You can specify, I want this over here, change this over here. To be clear, they're not template designers, they are programmer. It's programmer. So, he's not going to be making like design decisions, it's more like moving a button here, getting rid of this or that, and what have you. That's kind of it for the course updates. I may edit this in post.
Hey, somehow I knew that I would be putting this in post. One thing I did forget to add was that there is another update apparently coming to Shopify Freedom. But Dan Vas said in a post recently, which I will be showing on screen now, that he is going to be adding a new section to the course that contains a brand of his. I won't be showing the brand name because this is reserved for if you purchase the course. But essentially what it is, per this post, if you have the Amazon course, it should already be added there. But he takes a brand from A to Z, how he found the product, brought it up, everything on the sales end, everything kind of revealed on the back end. So that is pretty exciting. However, it does look like after reading the fine print in this post that it should be coming to the Shopify course next update. I don't know when that will be. This was made on the December 1st or 2nd, judging from the timestamp, if I remember correctly. But as of December 20th, this has not been added, but I just wanted to put that in post to correct that as I skipped over that. But when I found it in the fine print when reading this post in post edit.
Now, one thing that I did miss is that Josh Back, with the community manager for the Shopify side of the ecom training for this course, has made additional Facebook training modules, but they're not necessarily in the course section on Teachable. They're instead inside of the Facebook group. I do not know why they're not in the course. But I was digging around for extra hidden perks because I found a post and that's how I discovered all this stuff. So that is something to make note of. There are, I think, like 3 or 4 videos that he's done that are pretty long. He talks about Facebook copy, pain points, etc., how to build custom avatar research out. A couple things I do want to mention, and there's been a pretty big change to the mentorship and how that works. So about back in March of 2020, Dan Vas no longer really does mentorship. Like he does, you can still talk to him in the group calls when he shows up every couple of weeks, and you can talk with whoever's on that call, whether that be Josh Back or that be Dan. But Dan doesn't really appear as much. I've noticed, but what Josh is he's a student that went through the program, and he was selected by Dan because he had a successful brand. He followed all the steps, and so now he runs his brand along with doing the group and kind of like mentoring the group and being a full-time coach to answer your questions for free. This is really a nice perk. I wish I would have had this. So I think you can still technically message Dan on Facebook, but getting him to respond seems to be next to impossible unless you tag him just in a public post. He doesn't seem to respond to PMs as much. I have heard people getting to him. I personally haven't messaged him there. So that's changed. I don't know if that's mentioned explicitly on the sales funnel page, as I haven't really looked at it recently. But, he's like, I'll offer personal one-on-one mentorship. That's not really a thing. I mean, even back when he did, it was you post something in the Facebook group or you privately message him, and you got a much higher, faster response from him if you posted in the public group where everyone can see and tagged him, as opposed to actually just personally PMing him on his Facebook Messenger. Josh Back will get back to you if you personal message him. But he seems to take longer to respond if you do that, as opposed to if you just post in the group, hey, I'm having trouble with this, other people will also help you with that. But he does get back with you within a reasonable amount of time, like a day or two. He's a human being in a different time zone. So if you hit him up on a weekend like Sunday, like I'm recording this on, then, you're lucky your mileage may vary if he's asleep or something, which is completely reasonable. Last two things I wanted to talk about are two last things I wanted to talk about. One of them being the illness, and the game has changed in terms of how much of a budget it actually takes to go and compete. Previously, it used to be I started with a budget back in 2019 of like $400, and I was able to have some success with that. I was doing a medical product, made about $1,000 in revenue, and I was unaware of certain laws here in the U.S. that we have regarding, products that you import and things like that, and ended up getting those seized at some of those units seized at the border and being unable to recover those. So I shut the store down because there was no way I was gonna be able to rectify that due to not having licenses and things like that for the particular product I was selling. So the techniques in the course do work. However, due to the illness, because we're not allowed to actually say its name on YouTube, unfortunately, without getting the video marked or something, the cost to play has gone up significantly. So what I mean by that is, like, previously you'd have a budget of $400. Now that budget I would recommend at a minimum is $1,000 to $2,000. Realistically, $2,500. Just due to Shopify is getting more popular as a platform to compete with Amazon and FBA, and the low barrier to entry. A lot of people are doing it. You're going to have a lot of competition, and the ad costs have just gone up over the years. And so in order to do things properly, you really need a lot higher of a budget to start a brand. And realistically, I can tell you this from personal experience with dealing with suppliers, is that in China, when you go to Alibaba, AliExpress, it doesn't really matter. The way that this course is taught is you drop ship for the first 2 to 3 weeks to validate your product sales, that your product is good, and then you move over to bulk ordering, and then you have it shipped to a warehouse in the US that can distribute it, so you have fast shipping. It's about building a brand that will you can build out, right? Unfortunately, most suppliers will not drop ship anymore. It was already iffy doing that with back in the day, about a year and a half ago when I first filmed my first review of this course. I literally had to contact 13 suppliers before I found one that would drop ship it for me. All right. Now it's just talking to people in the group. That number is doubled. Like, you may have to talk to like 20 people before you find that. If you can do that at all, like, most people will just do an MOQ, or what's known as a minimum order quantity, but this can be negotiated, right? So you may have to purchase 50 units, 5 units, whatever the product is, for that minimum order quantity. So that is something to keep in mind. Also, there's no more e-packet shipping. That's basically gone, just due to the relations with China and the US tightening up. Unfortunately, so e-packet, for those of you that don't know, or it's basically the agreement that China had with other countries like the US and Canada and some other ones, where they would, to lower the shipping time was maybe like, before it would take like 8 weeks, now it would take, maybe 2 to 4. That is gone. So some alternatives are maybe Union Express. My Chinese is not very good, I'm afraid. So if you're going to do that drop shipping model, the shipping times have gone up to like maybe 6 to 8 weeks, especially with global shipping demand being so high. You're a high chance of that being bottlenecked. And then the last thing I wanted to get to was, is this course still worth your money? I think it is. I personally don't do dropshipping anymore, but I've talked to several people in the group that appear to have done quite well for themselves. As long as you're able to overcome the challenges and have that budget and that, able to overcome obstacles, this is still a great business model. Something that you can blow up and, have a brand that you can do. It's just Shopify is no longer get a store up, and just run some ads. It's you've got to brand it well. You've got to stick a logo on it. You've got to know how to build a brand out, which is kind of a difficult thing to do if it's your first time. So the reason I recommend 2,500 is it's really $1,000, you know, to do a Shopify store properly, kind of like that. And the chances of you having to bulk order are just higher than they were. That's kind of the sad truth of it. So, you know, if you have that extra $1,000, you're the first one you get wrong, the first store that you get wrong, you know, because you're going to get something wrong, even if your product is good, you know, you have the ability to fail and iterate so much faster with that second one. You know, after 4 Shopify stores, something finally clicked for me. It's like, oh, I can build this now, right? And I can, you know, I can make sales with it. It took me 4. So I just want to leave you guys with that. If you like this video, leave a thumbs up, subscribe. I try to not have too much fluff or filler in there. I like my last one, which was like 20 minutes long. So hopefully this will be shorter than that. I'm going to be talking more about marketing and things like that coming up, things that have helped me. You know, I've spent over, gosh, like maybe $13,000, $14,000 on courses, unfortunately. And some of them are not so worth it. Some of them were. And I kind of want to talk about that and things I can just do to help you guys out. All right, peace.